I welcome everyone. This is a special shiur. Tomorrow we're starting, with the help of Hashem, Masechtos Menachos, and many have never learned Menachos before, and it's a new terrain. So I thought it would be helpful to give a little bit of a preface. The first thing I want to say about Menachos comes from the word mincha. Mincha means a gift. And the mincha is, as we will see, a special gift to Hashem. Now, you'll say, well, Rabbi Weiss, it's the cheapest offering. By far, it's the cheapest offering. You know, you go to the vendor and you want to buy a carbon, it needs to be unblemished. You need to know that it wasn't born with cesarean section, couldn't be a hybrid. You have to make sure it's not a treifa. It can't have any blemishes. It's going to cost you a pretty penny. Even bird offerings. They have to be at a certain, if it's a turtle dove, it has to be at a certain stage of maturity. Ben Yonah has to be at a certain stage of youth. A minchas silas is just flour. It's just flour. It's by far the cheapest carbon. But it's tricky. It's the cheapest carbon, but there's a lot of work that goes into a mincha. The mincha is generally an isaron, which is a large amount of flour. It's about the size of 43 eggs of flour. It's a lot of flour. This flour needs to be sifted 13 times. If you remember, we learned it needs to be rubbed 100 times. There's a lot of avodah that goes into a mincha. And it really is a story about life. It really is. You know, there are people that have been blessed with a lot of money, and they could write out a check from their donors fund for $1 million, or they could write out 1,000 checks for hundreds of dollars, which is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Then there are people that are not blessed with money, but they want to do for others. So what do? They sit and they work on shidduchim. And they sit on the phone and look at the classified ads, and they find people jobs. It's what we learn about the mincha, echad amarba ve'echad amamit, u'bavad sheyichaven libay l'shamayim. As long as you dedicate yourself to heaven. There are a variety of menachos in two categories. There's the minchas nedava, and then there's the minchas chova. There's a voluntary mincha where, let's say, Reb Shlomo, out of the goodness of his heart, he wants to bring a mincha. There are different types of menachos that he could bring. There's the minchas silas, the mincha of fine flour, which is not baked. A kamitza, a handful is taken, and it's put straight on the altar. Then there are other menachos. There's the minchas machbas, the mincha that's fried on a griddle, on like a where they make in the restaurant pancakes. Then there's a minchas marcheshes, which is deep fried in a deep pan. And then there's the minchas mafei taner. There's a mincha baked in the oven, which comes in two varieties, has two parts: chalois, loaves, and rekikin, wafers, flat wafers, which are not made with oil. They're just smeared afterwards with oil. So those are the minchas nedava. Then there's a minchas chayva. Then there are obligatory menachos. The one type of obligatory mincha is the minchas chayte. If you remember, we learned about the korban oila v'yored, that there's a type of chatas which is the sliding scale, variable chatas. If you're rich, you bring an animal. If you're poor, you bring birds. If you're poorest, you bring a mincha. That's a minchas chayte. That usually comes, for example, for a sin of tumas mikdash ukadashim, for entering to mikdash or eating kachim, being unaware. There's the minchas knayis, that's the mincha of the saita, which is, by the way, only one of two menachos that are made of barley. There are only two menachos that are made of barley: the minchas saita and the minchas aimer, that's brought on the 16th of Nisan to be mated a new crop. Another minchas chayva is the minchas chavitin, which is offered by the kohen gadol. They break 12 loaves, and he brings 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon. Then, we know it from the famous sefer that on the Tag Mitzvahs, minchas chinuch. What's a minchas chinuch? A minchas chinuch is if a kohen does the avodah for the first time, he's inaugurated with a minchas chinuch, the mincha of inauguration. And this is like the chavite kohen gadol, except that they don't do it 6 and 6, but they offer all 12 at one time. Finally, there's the minchas nesachim, the minchas of the libations. That means that a lot of korbanos, when you offer the korban, it's accompanied by a mincha and by a libation. This is called the minchas nesachim. Its amounts depends if it's accompanies a par, an ayil, or a keves. Depends which one it accompanies, right? To know the amount. So we say shlisha sahin la'ayil, reviya sahin la'keves. It depends which animal. Now, as we said, that there's a mincha saimer. Then there's also other types of menachos. They are the shtei alechem on Shavuos, the 2 loaves that accompany the kiftzei atzeres on Shavuos. You have the lechem aponim, the 12 loaves that are offered on Shabbos, from Shabbos to Shabbos, which they don't go on the mizbeach, they're eaten. We offer from the lechem aponim the shtei zichei levina, that's 2 spoonfuls of frankincense. You have the lachmei toida. You have the 40 loaves of the toida, Thanksgiving offering, of 4 different varieties. 3 are unleavened and 1 are chametz. And the 20 loaves of the ayil of the nazir. Together, the nazir brings 3 korbanos. One of them is an ayil, and the ayil is accompanied by 20 loaves. Now, what's fascinating about the mincha is that the mincha parallels this is a fascinating thing. The mincha parallels the shechita of a carbon. The shechita of a carbon has 4 steps: shechita, kabbalah, holacha, and zrika. Right? That's the 4 avodas adam: shechting, catching the blood, bringing it nigh to the mizbeach, and sprinkling the blood on the mizbeach. What's interesting about the mincha is the mincha has also these 4 steps. They are: you take the kmitza, that's the handful. Now, I should preface over here that we don't always take a kmitza. A mincha of a kohen is burnt entirely on the mizbeach. A mincha of a kohen is never eaten. Also, minchas nesochim, the mincha that's brought with the karbanas, with the libations, is never eaten. It's burnt entirely up. But most of the menachos that Reb Shlomo brings, Shlomo is a big mincha man, so most of the menachos, the minchas machbas, the minchas solos, the minchas macheshes, minchas mafeitaner, if he's not a kohen, so remember we said 4 steps. They are kmitza. The kohen takes the 3 middle fingers and scoops up the flour. It needs to be exact, and he levels it with the thumb and the pinky. That's the first thing. The kmitza is analogous to shechita. Not completely analogous, because shechita by a carbon could be done by Yisrael. Kmitza has to be done by a kohen. You take a kmitza, that's step 1. The next step is kiddush b'keli. Take the kmitza and you sanctify it in a keli. The third step is hagasha, where you take it and you touch the southwest corner of the mizbeach. And then the 4th step is smoking it up on the mizbeach. Now, together with the kmitza, most menachos also have a component that they put on the kmitza levona, frankincense. Now, the identity of frankincense, we say it, we learn it all through Shas, frankincense. The identity of frankincense, the Aruch, says that frankincense is from a sap of a tree that hardened into granules. That's what frankincense is. And that's put on the mizbeach together with the kmitza. Not all karbanos have oil and levina. For example, the minchas chayte, because it's for a sin, so we don't want it to be nice, so it doesn't have oil and levina. Most of the menachos have oil and levina. When you take a kmitza, the rest of the mincha, that's the shirayim, is koche kochim, holy of holies. Therefore, it's only eaten in the azara, lifnim and aklayim, and it's only eaten by zichrei kahuna, by male kahanim. As a din of the highest. Now, if you remember, we had a machlokes whether there's a mincha on a bama or not. That was a machlokes. The Rabbanan say, "Ain't mincha b'bama." There's no mincha on it. Gedalia can't offer it up on his rooftop. Of course, once we know the steps, the 4 steps, it's going to be very important. The 4 steps of kmitza, kiddush b'keli, hagasha, and aktara. Then we know in which steps we could have a machshava of pigel or a machshava of chutz l'mekaymai. That's going to play into learning about these sugyas. So that, I think that's a little bit of an introduction to some of the basic rules of this Masechta. We hope everybody will join us tomorrow at 6:30 for the Siyum. We'll try to put it on Zoom as well. And we also hope that everybody will be here at 8 o'clock for the start of the new Masechta. By then, Baruch will probably come back already. I don't know. If something happens with your car and it's not delivered, don't call me. I'm hoping everything should go the way you want it. Reb Chananya ben Akasha Amarat